Viewers, now on to a big story on India Sense this Monday. The Los Angeles protests. It started Friday morning. Agents in camouflage swarming the Los Angeles garment district, targeting undocumented workers. Now chaos followed. Protesters clashed with police. Eggs flew and tear gas answered. By Saturday, the unrest sped through Paramount. It had now become the new front line. Flashbangs, rubber bullets, federal arrests marked the day, as you see on your screens. Even teens were taken in. Then came Sunday. President Trump federalized the California National Guard without state approval, and 2,000 troops were ordered in. For the first time in 60 years, viewers, a president has bypassed a US governor to do it during civil unrest. Furthermore, Governor Newsom called it unlawful. Mayor Karen Bass termed it a dangerous escalation. Both demanded the guard be returned to state control, but that wasn't to be. By Sunday afternoon, crowds massed outside the Metropolitan Detention Center. Tear gas filled the streets once again as protesters held their ground, showing no sign of stopping. The White House, meanwhile, called them violent mobs. President Trump said it's a rebellion, and he may very well invoke the Insurrection Act, paving the way for full military deployment. A raid has snowballed into a constitutional standoff with federal force on local soil, viewers. Peaceful protests have been labeled insurrection, and caught in the middle are Angelenos demanding answers and dignity. Los Angeles protests have now become the nation's mirror, reflecting a battle over immigration, power, and the right, of course, to be heard. Sky News' Martha Keller gets you the latest.
California, are you prepared to invoke the Insurrection Act?
Depends on whether or not there's an insurrection.
There is, sir?
No, but you have violent people, and we're not going to let them get away with it. Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart like it was under Biden and his auto pen.
We're going to be watching it very closely, and when they spit at people, they spit. That's their new thing. They spit, and worse, you know what they throw at them, right? And when that happens, I have a little statement. They say, they spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing. They get up to them this far away, and then they start spitting in their face. That happens, they get hit very hard.
The standoff between police and protesters is continuing here. There are flashbangs going off every couple of seconds. The police are still using tear gas and rubber bullets in a bid to try and disperse these demonstrations. You can see down on the pavement here, there are a couple of people who have just been arrested by police officers. They have their hands in handcuffs, their ankles are also bound. Police waiting for them to be picked up by a police vehicle. These protests are growing bigger. There are more people joining the protests on foot, by public transport and by car, although police have now created a perimeter around this protest. They have warned that anyone beyond this initial line of police officers will be arrested. You can still see, though, projectiles being thrown towards the police. Water bottles, glass bottles, canisters as well, and the police are responding by dispersing tear gas. These, as a reminder, are immigration protests against Donald Trump's immigration policy, sparked initially by a number of raids in workplaces across this city. But it is hard to believe that this is the heart of downtown LA. Protests like this, not seen since the Black Lives Matter movement, and before that the protests that came in the early 1990s here in LA. Protests that the California governor, Gavin Newsom, says have been inflamed by Donald Trump's decision to deploy National Guard members onto the streets here. Donald Trump says 2,000 members of the National Guard, members of the military, have been deployed here. Already 300 of them are on the streets. This situation is growing uglier by the minute, though.
Viewers, now let's look at the many reactions in the story. Donald Trump, to begin with, in a harsh tone, has warned he won't let the country be torn apart by this migrant invasion, as he calls it, and he won't let these violent people get away. Meanwhile, the LA mayor has called the situation chaos caused by government, calling Trump's tactics a slow terror on LA. Mexican President Claudia Sheinbaum has defended immigrants living in Los Angeles, saying protesters are not criminals. And she's also said she disagrees with the US approach to tackle immigration. Meanwhile, California Governor Gavin Newsom, the man in the spotlight, has accused President Donald Trump of illegal, immoral and unconstitutional deployment of the National Guard to create a spectacle. He's also threatening to sue the Trump administration. Meanwhile, former Vice President Kamala Harris has slammed Trump for stoking fear. My colleague Disha Bakchi joins me for more on this story. Disha, given how quickly the situation has really escalated, what does this reveal about the federal-local tensions over immigration enforcement?
Absolutely. This is really, LA has now become the key flashpoint when it comes to Trump's immigration crackdown. But we've been seeing these kind of tensions between President Donald Trump and California Governor Newsom. Even during the California wildfires, we saw this tension between the federal level, the government, as well as the state government. And now we're seeing that again with the immigration crackdown. After these protests began against these ICE raids, and now not just Gavin Newsom but also the LA mayor really slamming Trump, criticizing his move to deploy the national troops, calling it his, in a sense, they're calling it a move to really not just stoke fear, create this spectacle, create this scene of utter chaos to justify his actions of trying to use the US armed forces to what he has been saying for a while, that to stop, in Trump's words, the leftist agenda and what he calls a migrant invasion of the United States. And using this spectacle, using this scene of chaos in Los Angeles, he's trying to achieve this very goal of trying to liberate the country from what Trump has been calling left-leaning lawlessness. So really, this is what the tension between the two sides, between the center, the Washington, as well as the state government, which is Los Angeles mayor, as well as Gavin Newsom, that they really, the statements that you shared were quite clear, that there's a clear divide between the two sides, and we're seeing that with Trump, deploying the National Guard in Los Angeles.
Well, clearly, thank you so much for getting us the latest there, Disha. And the narrative has definitely shifted from just a workplace raid to a full-blown constitutional crisis right now.